Alright, we're actually beginning with a pretty big box, and while this isn't anime, you know, this is one of those, this is a video game. This is a limited run game, physical edition of Castlevania Dominus Collection. Or at least it's supposed to be. I guess if I open this up and it isn't that, then there might be a problem. But, you know, I kind of figure it's probably hard for them to get that wrong, just because, you know, they're obviously in the midst of making it. Oh, it's a good thing I opened that up in such a way as not to... I guess I don't see my address on here, but still. I don't want to accidentally flash that. Oh, it's huge. I guess before that box goes too far away, let me make sure there isn't any like card hidden in there. And then from this side, get at this a little bit more. You know what? I'm not going to worry too much about the logistics of the plastic. And let me get that out like so. And let's turn it on the side. And now I'll come back to this side so we can take a peek at this. You know, it's nice and big, very stylized something. You can see here the 4 games that is included in it, and I do believe this has been on sale on the Switch itself, if not other platforms. We have Dawn of Sorrow, which I guess is a sequel to Aria of Sorrow. We've got Portrait of Ruin, and I've played most of this one. I don't know if I ever finished it, but I remember enjoying it. I played a little bit of Order of Eclair or something like that, and this is an arcade thing of some sort. 111. Oh, not a lot of surprising things there. But again, you know, as far as a box goes, this is a very pretty layered thing there. So let's see. Let's open this up before I open the other stuff. Holy shit, there's a lot of stuff in here. Oh, look, there's a... Why the hell do I have a USB-C? Well, one side USB-C, it's USB to USB-C. Interesting. Oh, fuck. Jesus. Wall mounting shit. What did I order? It's been so long since I ordered it, but... Oh my god. This is, kind of, I have the sneaky suspicion I'm going to put it all back in here or something, because first of all, it's a better box than I think even some of my other stuff. That said, I'm having trouble telling what some of this even is, but... Sound Byte Sound FX keychain. Oh jeez, I kind of want to open it up. I want to be careful about how I do it though. It's not coming apart very easily. I don't want to waste too much of my time, but I'm kind of curious. I remembered spending for a more pricey thing, but... Oh, this is the actual... case for the thing itself. Oh, Jesus, sorry about that. Dominus Collection. Oh god, come on. It's not wanting to open up. Because it's a slide out and not an open thing. Okay. That makes sense. But this is an open thing. God, I don't want to spend too much time opening this because this is an anime unboxing channel. You know, I don't... Well, I guess I am still calling it physical anime collection update. But we're beginning with this for sure. Okay. I made this an all-in-one. Oh, there's two of them. Wait. Oh, okay. I see. Do you want Dominus Collection with Portrait of Ruin or Order of Eclair? And I'm pretty sure Order of Eclair isn't quite right. There are alternatives to this, so you could go with this one for your Aria or your Dawn of Sorrow. So you can swap those out, but then why swap them out when you have the fucking steelbook, right? Let's just set that aside and open this up to get at these goodies on the inside. Because they're getting transferred over to the steelbook. And I guess the steelbook can't live in here, so I have to decide if I'm really keeping this on its own, or... And since I'm going to put some of this back together, because I'm going to be going back in here, I guess before I put that all the way in, I set this down to the side. This seems easy enough to open. Might as well take a look. Although it's a fold-out thing. It looks like bigger versions of the artwork on the thing, so... Yeah, that's a very technical word I'm using there. The thing, the artwork on the Switch box. But good. Let's put this back in here. Continue digging at this. This is a soundtrack. I don't want to spend too much more time digging into it. Feels like okay, there's a lot of space. This looks like maybe the official certificate. No, this is maps. Maybe maps to put on walls and stuff. We have these tell me all the things, some postcards. Trying to decide if this is a patch or a sticker. It feels a little thick to be one, but not thick enough to be the other. I think these are just boxes for padding, so let's see what's in here. And I don't think I can take this out because I think this is the thing on the front. So let's see what we have in here. Looks like some stands to assemble. Maybe I'll hold on to those because I do like assembling those. We're getting close to the end of the year, so I'll be able to do my end of the year update. Yeah, it doesn't feel like that's coming free, so let's assume for the time being it's not. Get some of these back in here, because some of these I'm going to have to figure out doing on my own, but let's see what's in this box. Maybe the thing that I'm supposed to use that USB-C cable for? Not even quite sure why I have a USB-C cable. Oh, let's see. Styrofoam, okay. Oh, maybe there is something on both sides. Operation steps. Something that remote control functions. What the fuck? USB-C. USB-C? What the fuck? Why another one? Okay, I can't put this all back together because maybe one's for the controller and the other one is for the base. The base stays plugged in. Because this does something. It may have lights built into it. Maybe, huh. "3D visual impact," right? Okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to figure some of that out. So I'll set this aside because I got a lot more to figure out with that. That's pretty cool. Hopefully y'all don't mind that aside, that interesting, nerdy, not anime per se, but you know what? Those are some anime design characters on some of those. But let's get on to this, assuming that that box is actually empty, and begin with first Galaxy Express 999. Blu-ray, I think, is this collection or partial collection? The Complete Journey, episodes 1 through 113. So this is an Eastern Star Discotheque because it is currently December and last week would have been the last week of the month. And, you know, I think they've gone a little light on some releases, but here they have all of this. This is looks like Japanese with English subtitles only. Region A only. Two, three. What? Disc 1. That's Blu-ray. Is this Blu-ray DVD? No, that's Blu-ray. Collection 1, Disc 1. Did I already get this before and I just bought a Collection 1, Disc 2, Collection 1, Disc 3? This is Collection 2, Disc 1. Collection 2, Disc 2. Collection 2, Disc 3. Then Collection 3, Disc 1. Collection 3, Disc 2. And Collection 3, Disc 3. Did I already get this? I'm pretty sure I got it on DVD, I just don't remember getting it on Blu-ray, hence why... Well, now I know I got it on Blu-ray, but anyways. Steelbook version of Fairy Tale 100 Year Quest. Let's just get this open and then look at the Steelbook and the thing on the back separately. Because then you have like nice background image. I say that, and although, well, I don't know most of these characters, I'm like, who even is she? Whatever. Anyways, from the back, I see regions A and B. Should be English and Japanese audio. Come on, camera, adjust English and Japanese audio. Okay. I'll set this over here. Let's take a look. I don't even remember if I got this before. Episodes 1 through 7, 8 through 14, 15 through 21, 22 through 25. But you know what? It doesn't matter because steelbook, and I'm just like collecting steelbooks, I guess. Probably have some I could go back and get, but anyways, Hajime no Ippo, aka Fighting Spirit. So basically, it was released under the name Fighting Spirit, I believe. Am I remembering correctly? I'm not mixing them up. Dempsey rolls, right? Well, let's see. First of all, it looks like there's 3 languages: English, Japanese, and Spanish. That's good to know. 76 episodes on 7 discs. Region A only. A little fighting spirit goes a long way. Which I think is a nod to the English name it was released under. I think. Three, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess it's one big image in the back, but you know, at least taking a peek. Kind of nice. Last but not least, the rare One Piece Season 14 Voyage 7. So of course, part of the reason why this is actually in a box and not already outside of the, you know, packaging and stuff is because, well, it was Thanksgiving week, so I get to open it up for y'all instead of going to Friday Friend, waiting for Friday Friend. You have the information down here. Region A only, should be English dubbed, Japanese with English subtitles. DVD and Blu-ray versions. And yeah, I won't have much to say about this, but this will probably be our priority watch this coming Friday, which will again put a little delay between me and the latest episodes of My Hero Academia. But oh well. Here's this week's physical anime collection update. Alright, and I spent the time in between my videos to, you know, take a look at this. So, you know, like I've got the remote here and I can press buttons to change the color. Doesn't always seem to hear me when I press the buttons. I can change the brightness, turn it down, or turn it up. And there are some modes here that cause it to automatically change, or automatically change, or automatically change, or automatically change. You know, if you can read those buttons, that's a flash, strobe, fade, and smooth. Yeah, turn it back off. So yeah, I have to figure out what I'm gonna do with it, but you know, I've got a month to do that before my anime DVD collection update. There's a button back here. It's not really a button, it's a kind of a touch sensitive thing. But yeah, there you go. That's what this interesting thing was. Alright, let's talk about some stuff. I guess it's interesting. Okay, so I just had the thing where, okay, I started this video off with something non-anime, just something that maybe a lot of anime fans would be interested in, possibly video games. But let's start this section with Stranger Things Season 5. Episodes 1 through 4, of course. You know, if you're watching this months in the future, all of Season 5 will have been out. Presumably also all the Stranger Things, unless they come up with a reason to make more. But for Season 5, I have to say, it's not off to the best start. It's not a bad season so far. I find it's more engaging than Seasons 2 and 3. Maybe for some of y'all that sets a low bar, but it's been my opinion that, you know, Stranger Things Seasons 1, 2, and 3, you know, Season 1 begins interesting enough with its own entertaining things. I I think writing-wise, it feels like if there's a problem with season 1, it's mostly that it sort of feels like it's paced out a bit like a bingey show. But, you know, it's a specific thing. It's an interesting thing. Season 2, you can kind of feel, okay, it sort of feels like they really weren't planning for season 2 when they made season 1. There's like, okay, now that we're here, let's put some ideas together and continue the thing. And I say that because, you know, like season 2, I'd say begins with the worst writing thing it could have done, which is give a cliffhanger from the end of the first season and immediately give us a most banal resolution to it, I guess. An immediate one that's just sort of like kind of contradicts the feelings for it to a certain degree, I guess. But, you know, I consider the writing for season 2 to be worse than season 1 for sure. And I consider the writing for season 3 to be worse. But I can kind of understand why some people like season 3 more than season 2. Because it's this thing where season 3 also introduced some incredibly iconic stuff. I mean, who doesn't like all the Scoops Ahoy stuff? Robin, of course, is a far beloved character. But it's just kind of... I don't know. But season 4, I consider season 4 to be the best written of them. But I'm not sure that necessarily means it's better than season 1. But the important thing about season 4 is that it feels like it does a better job of... I really like Vecna as a villain. And I think it does a good job of introducing him, making you feel the menace. It feels like a really good, inspired by 80s killer star thing. I mean, probably a shit ton of inspiration from Freddy Krueger. And I've never watched any of those movies, but I do believe that the original Freddy Krueger actor was the person who played the guy in the mental asylum that they had to go talk to. And hopefully I'm saying all this stuff without spoiling too much, but Vecna's neat. Some people were saying, oh, why doesn't he... Like, I was watching a YouTube review of Season 5, but when it was talking about Season 4, it's like, he kind of doesn't look like this. It's like, yeah, he kind of reminds me more of like a Jim Carrey Grinch more than, like, I guess, maybe other stuff. But his menace doesn't come from that. It comes from his demeanor, his slow moving towards you like it's your inevitable demise. He's coming for you. And what makes it even nicer is he's got this kind of malicious intimacy with whenever he's talking. Like, it's not even a thing of him, I guess, like, feeling he's a possessive other or something like that. He talks to his victims like he really knows them. He knows he's their inevitable fate, and they can't really stop him. And the closest we get to seeing some of that just shows that, yeah, he's pretty formidable. Even when... No, I don't want to say that. So, the point is, you know, Season 4 is a good show. You feel his presence throughout it. The first episode does a good job of introducing him, and you feel him throughout the season. And you know that he's key to Season 5. But the most important thing about Season 4, and one of the reasons I also think it's really well written, is because, first of all, there were a lot of characters that had problems that's just like, okay, now this character is suddenly very beloved. Like, I don't think Max was necessarily hated in Seasons 2 and 3. I think the problem is just that the way they were introduced in Season 2 was a little bit forceful. And I think that's just a general Stranger Things character writing problem, which is more obvious in Season 5. But, you know, Max was just kind of introduced as a, oh, look, yeah, see, she can hold her own with the guy. She's getting high scores on them, and she kind of talks and acts like she's better than him. It's like, nobody likes somebody like that. There's even characters in season 5 that are kind of like that. It's just like, the only reason they're not as hated, I would say, is first of all, they just haven't been thrown in our faces as much, which I guess you could say that season 5 is showing restraint in that regard. But for Max, it's just sort of like, she wasn't put for the right way. And season 3 just did really weird things with Billy, more interesting than his shallow season 2 stuff, but in season 3 it just was, season 3 was weird, man. But season 4 had all those characters doing stuff, saying stuff that's just suddenly like, wow, I feel like they're real people now, not some sort of poochie being shoved in our faces. Look, new character, look how awesome they are. No, they gave us someone actually interesting, compelling, and they tied everything together with our characters, which is also important, because one of the reasons I think season 3 is badly written, because it has things where it's like, oh, well, suddenly Russians are in Hawkins. Why? I mean, I kind of understand there's an element of 80s movies to it, and it's kind of cheesy and maybe intentionally so, but it also feels like, why is our main cast of characters the ones doing this sort of stuff? Why are they the ones that have to literally be the ones to save the world? Because nobody else can be expected to wipe their own asses or something like that? Did this one make a joke like that, or was that something else? I think that was something else. But anyways, the point is, season 3 kind of had that, but season 4, it felt like our characters were being targeted by the maliciousness. That's why they had to be on their own, alone, doing stuff without trying to involve extra people. And I think that made a whole lot of sense. And then season 4 did the best thing ever in having the best ending to a penultimate season you could get. Because, like, if you have a good story structure, then your penultimate chapter, at least the penultimate chapter before the final confrontation or the end of the main story, assuming you don't have a chapter that's just sort of like entire come down from the ending or something like that, which is weird. I've seen some things do stuff sort of like that. But assuming you have a finale planned, then your penultimate section of the story should be your characters at their lowest point. Even if they're at their strongest point, it should also be them at their lowest point. And I think that's exactly what season 4 did. It gave our characters a lot of strength, gave us really powerful moments, very triumphant, very spectacular, but it still ended in a way where you felt like the characters had reached their lowest point. Things are the most dangerous they have been, the most dangerous they could have been. Everybody's looking forward to season 5 because the final imagery of season 4 really solidified. They made it through this. But now the world's at stake. That's really good stake raising. I mean, there's elements of it that's just sort of like you felt the danger was there, but now it's like the danger's not knocking on your door anymore. It's on the other side of it, and you're hiding in the bedroom trying to figure out, okay, can I cobble together a makeshift gun out of these tubes and gunpowder I have lying around? Something like that. So, that is a very important way to say, what's wrong with season 5? Well, the main problem is season 5 begins by taking a step back from that that low point, I guess. Especially some of the imagery there. It kind of implies it's there, but some of the goal of that is to kind of have our characters doing somewhat normal Stranger Things character sorts of things. And yeah, basically, it feels like a step back. Like if you take something else, let's take the original Star Wars trilogy. Empire Strikes Back is considered a really good example of that movie ended with our characters at their lowest point. They had truths that they had learned. They were in a state where we didn't have everybody together. It was an uncertain future from there, but it's like they're still going to try their best. And how does Return of the Jedi begin? It doesn't really undermine that. it begins in a place where we're not sure where they are, but we kind of see they're at the place from where they were for the previous one, where things still kind of look like they're not as good for our ragtag group of heroes. But maybe there could be. And you could say that there's an issue with Return of the Jedi in that it goes from that to, okay, yeah, well, now all that is resolved and, oh, big bad Empire is back. Uh-oh. And maybe there's a little bit of a distraction there. But there's a reason people think Empire Strikes Back is better movie than Return of the Jedi. And I enjoy Return of the Jedi. I think it does a good job of at least feeling like there's a closure to that trilogy. But the point is, it still begins with that same feeling of characters at their lowest point. And so Stranger Things Season 5 begins with the iconic imagery being shut down and things are the way they normally are, with our main characters doing their things independently of other people. And episode 3 is actually a little painful in that regard, because while I think the outcome of everything they were doing in that episode ended up being entertaining and fun, it's just sort of like, are you really doing this show? It feels like the same mistakes that kind of made the writing of seasons 2 and 3 bad, but it's not bad at their level. It's part of it is that it's set up correctly in order to be a follow-up from season 4, as in like, you're watching these episodes knowing that season 4 happened. And it also helps that at the end of this, it's sort of returning to that same low point. But it's really hard to say because the way they handled it up to this point doesn't feel low point enough-ish. And they still had a moment of triumph. But hard to really say. So, it's a rough first season. It's not a season 5 is bad, it should be written off. But there's definitely some shakiness in the writing, which has me a little bit worried. But one thing I'm a little optimistic about is, so there has been this thing where Will Byers being secretly homosexual has been a thing. And the thing I'm worried about that is one of the strong things season 4 established is that, is it Mike? I think it's Mike, the main boy of the group, is the heart of the group. And the season 4 wanted us to remember season 1 and how much Mike liked Elle, how much he, kind of was entranced by her. She's the person he loves, and that's kind of been the story of Stranger Things. So the worry has been going, before season 5 is if they're going to start making that a strong thing, there's a big risk that because it seems to be Mike that he likes, that they may accidentally kill what they started developing in season 1 and then really developed in season 4. And I have to say that I think they've done a pretty good job so far in season 5 of not doing that. Instead, it's been something that more ties into Will's personal story. And I think that's good. We'll just have to see that they don't do something really stupid at the very end. I don't really see them doing that because usually there's a pretty straightforward flow to Netflix's seasons. Even if you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I actually predicted most of the stuff here. And it sounds like a lot of people did. And they blamed that one on the trailer. But I never watched the trailer. And I felt like there was a lot of stuff that was pretty predictable. Things that are just like, yeah, well, that would be why that happened. Yeah, that would be why that would happen. Yeah, that would be why that would happen. And I think it's just that there's some straightforwardness to it. It's good because there's some elements of it that are not necessarily spelled out per se. I mean, season 4 worked out because even though there was a natural flow from the beginning to the end, I think there were interesting things we learned along the way. And I guess you can't really say that the ending to previous season stuff in the current season is there, because it does sort of feel like they're adding it on after the fact. And there's certain thoughts I have in that regard, and I've had them before. That's like, is Season 4 contradicting Season 1 in certain ways here? And maybe Season 5 is implying some things that help think about it, but it's not necessarily too bad. It's whatever stuff. Anyways, I guess the point is, yeah, you know, Season 5, I think that's all I'm going to say about it. Hopefully I didn't say too much, because a lot of things I said I don't consider very important to the story itself. I think some of the things you see would at worst be okay. Because like, I think there's the other side of the coin where I'm worried about them going overboard with the will thing. And I think there's some people out there that are like, oh, I really like that, I want to see it. And I don't think Season 5 is treating it bad in either direction. I think it's putting it there and keeping it there and not being too intrusive with it. Which surprised me. I just consider Netflix to be bad writers. I mean, fuck, they did with Death Note and easy to bitch and moan and groan and complain about that stuff. But with Season 5, I do feel like, you know, there were... You know, it's off to an okay start. Not the best, but not anything that I would write off Season 5. I guess there's another thing to talk about, and that Linda Hamilton is in it. And I don't know what to think about her character. And part of the problem is that the way her character is being used doesn't make sense. And part of the problem with that is, again, that this first chunk of episodes walk back the where the previous season ended. And I think where the previous season ended should have had implications of where this one began. But in doing so, it would have given Linda Hamilton's character something more interesting and complex. Instead, it's at least beginning to look like it's a continuation of elements from Season 4. Not in the best way, right? Because things should be at their lowest here, to the point where the elements of Season 5, Episode 4 should have been happening in Episode 1. Oh yeah, I was going to mention the character personality trait things. I think Holly is a really good example. I mean, they've done this before with other characters that have been in the show, but then only became more relevant in later seasons. But they kind of have this way of having characters talk, which is kind of interesting in the small view, but it feels like when you're talking about them in the large view, you're like, it feels like every new character that do this. It's a little bit of that trying too hard with Max sort of stuff, although she was a completely new character, not them, you know, kind of reinventing an existing character to a certain degree. Lucas's sister may be a better example, because I thought she was pretty intolerable in Season 3. Much better in Season 4. Although still with that same attitude, but I think they did a better job with it there. This one's kind of had some of its fun stuff. But again, the problem is Season 4, the characters were brought to their lowest point, even if they were all at their strongest. And Season 5 should have been a kind of continuation for that. And some of Lucas's sister's moments in Season 5 so far have been more of the Stranger Things whimsy, as opposed to the events after Season 4. So, lots of thoughts there, but, you know, all in all, it feels very artificial with Holly. It's not that she's hateable. In fact, I think she's much better at this point than Max was into her introduction. But at the same time, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you care about her, but pretty much by name and not by, oh god, this is Season 4 Max, or something intense like that. You know, it still feels like she's a little background character-y, even if they don't want her to be, even if they want her to be big and more important. It doesn't change the fact that now isn't the time to try to do that. Make her more important and an important background character, make all of Mike's family like that, because they kind of did that to a bit with this season. Yeah, that's right. Somebody else said, I feel more sorry for the parents, and yeah, I kind of do. And there's still room in season 5 in the further episodes for us to be more worried about Holly's situation, but again, it really kind of depends what they do with it. They kind of set stuff up, and we'll have to see. So I've just spent most of this time talking about Stranger Things season 5. But of course, y'all know that's the big thing going on right now. And hopefully, again, I didn't spoil anything. I'm trying to keep these thoughts high level, just to kind of say, you know, what pieces are they playing with, not how are they playing with, not even what all of their pieces are. Just, they're there, and hopefully I haven't gone too far. Anime. I also watched World End episodes 7 through 12. And I can kind of see where people talked about it. Like, the ending to the anime isn't the best ending. It just sort of is incomplete. And it sounds like it doesn't actually implement most of the manga or light novel or whatever. But, you know, content-wise, I think it's an interesting show. You can sort of feel that interesting world building that was going on. Things that revealed I didn't expect it to. Things that happened in the end of the anime that I didn't expect to have happen. And for the most part, it's okay. It would be good if everything got resolved. But if they didn't, you know, going to the original material seems to be the best option. You watch the anime. Oh my god, my battery's already almost dead. You watch the anime and yeah, you get a whole lot done. Sorry, not a whole lot done. You get introduced to enough to say, okay, there's more interesting world building I want to see here. I should go to the original source material. And it tries to choose one thing to focus on. That's primarily the romantic aspect of it. And, you know, it's fine. It's not the main reason I was watching it, but, you know, it was perfectly fine. Weird, but fine. Alright, so maybe I need to actually plug in my camera or something like that for the battery. I think that's working. Let's get through all the other anime real quick. Campfire Cooking in Another World with My Absurd Skills, Season 2, Episode 8. Honestly, I can't remember what happened in this. A lot of stuff before Thanksgiving Thanksgiving was exhausting. Hero Without a Class, Who Even Needs Skills, Episode 10. I guess what it's setting up at the end of this is something to end this second mage story arc. It's whatever. It's weak sauce in my opinion. Because again, I've had my opinion on what they could have done with this anime that actually would have made it more meaningful. Good, but they didn't. Friday, May I Ask for One Final Thing, Episode 10. We saw a wide variety of fighting from our main character. I remember it being entertaining. Don't know if I want to elaborate more than that. That may already be too much. Whatever. It was fun. My gift, level 9999 Unlimited Gacha, Episode 9. I guess we see more of the next part of the plan kind of coming out, stretching out. Good stuff. Don't know if I have anything else to say. Wild Last Boss appeared, Episode 10. I was kind of surprised with the direction it took this, because things that I mentioned that I had suspected looked like they were the case weren't quite as, I mean, they were the case, but not the case in the way that I thought they were. I thought it worked out overall pretty well. So I guess I don't have too much else to think about that. I thought it was a neat episode. I'm trying to remember what they ended with. Whatever. Tales of Wedding Rings, Season 2, Episode 9. I guess okay. I think they're getting closer to setting up for what'll hopefully be the finale, and I think they've set more things in place for it to be a better finale than what they could have done at the end of Season 1. So looking forward to that. Spy Family, Season 3, Episode 46. You know, the numbering is staying consistent finally. Good follow-up to the previous couple of episodes, important stuff, I'd say all pretty good. Although Anya acting like a kid and getting a little tall-taily, over-exaggerating sort of stuff, it's very Anya, but it's one of my less favorite moments of the show, but whatever. To Eternity, Season 3, Episode 9. Again, the interesting thing they took with the character, I'm not sure if I like this character or not. Okay, they're doing more interesting things with him, and I thought what they did with him in this episode was all pretty good. And, I kind of felt like going back and rewatching a lot of it. And I don't always talk about rewatching stuff, but it is interesting. It's good that I've gone back because there are things that I'm like, oh, I didn't remember that they had revealed that. There are things that they had revealed. Things that are just like, oh, wow. I could have watched this back after watching Season 2 and had different thoughts about it. Now, I'm not sure if Season 3 is giving me much new and fresh, per se. But, it's a neat show. It's a neat show. Got Yakuta, episode 21. Again, okay, so some of the action stuff that happened was really neat. But again, this show continues to just thread that line between, is it going too shonen-y, or is it actually giving us a story about the main character? Good stuff. Dad is Hero, Mom's a Spirit, I'm a Reincarnator, episode 9. Going a little more parallel world pharmacy, whatever anime, the good one and not the somewhat mediocre one, with the guy living with the... Don't know how to put that one. Anyways, entertaining stuff. I guess maybe they are setting up a potential season/court finale. Good Beans, Gatherer's Adventure in Isekai, episode 10. I actually think this was an okay episode for Gatherer's Adventure in Isekai because they introduced something that's not commonly explored in isekai anime, even though it's not unprecedented. So I think that was I've mentioned before that does tend to do fresh sort of things, and yeah, this was one of them, I guess. Anyways, yeah, an intriguing episode. The Fated Magical Princess Who Made Me a Princess, episode 12. So this is definitely not the ending of the series because I gave what the next episode is going to be. Pretty stuff, I think. I'm not sure what else to say because I'm not quite sure. I think they've given hints as to important stuff, but it also feels like it doesn't really do anything to necessarily move forward. I mean, I think there's some this time that felt like it was moving forward, but just sort of feels off sometimes. Anyways, fine stuff. And then finally, my status as an assassin obviously exceeds the heroes, episode 9. I think fine stuff happening. Okay stuff. The storytelling just always feels weird. I also don't know if my battery's low again, if maybe me turning it off and on made it refresh, and the fact that it's USB plugged in right now means nothing. So I should definitely wrap things up. That's a whole lot of stuff to have done, and obviously with Thanksgiving I didn't play much video games, not because I didn't have time, but I just didn't have energy. But winter stuff is starting in Dead by Daylight, so I should do something. Or maybe play that Castlevania stuff. I have that. I'm not sure what I'll do. Or finish Rune Factory, Guardians of Ozma. Don't know. But I think y'all have heard me talking for a long, long time. We can wrap things up. Y'all have a nice week.